correct answers to those.
TV production, film production is a very passionate kind of job. You must be able to sacrifice, must be willing to sacrifice both time, energy, money, and even some recreational activities in order to put in all yourself in your production and be a successful producer. My name is FOMBE Margaret. I was born on the 12th of November 1960 in a small village in Bafut called Mantap. I was the first of 6 children, 5 girls, 1 boy. My father was a farmer. He produced foodstuff as well as palm nut production because we had a lot of palms in our compound, and my father had a lot of landed property. When the first wife died, that is when he got married to my mother. I went to primary school in Agati, Bafut, and also in CBC Centenary School, Victoria. Then when I finished primary school in 1973, government secondary school was opened in Mbengwi in the Northwest region. And by the time I completed Form 5, the high school had been created, so I continued there in the high school and graduated with my A-levels in 1980. Then I moved to the University of Yaoundé. I studied modern letters in English, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in modern letters with an option in French. When I came out of university, I was in the job market. So it happened that the public service advertised the entrance examination into a TV school because they wanted to train technicians for the national television, which started just 2 years earlier. Then we came out in 1987 and got directly employed in CRTV. So when I got to CRTV, we were directing the news, of course, doing magazine programs and also documentary programs. So the first documentary that I produced was on female filling station technicians. At that time, female filling station technicians were rare. Only men worked there, so there was this one station that had girls actually serving at the pump. And that is how I continued the series with the female village chief. When I was transferred to Bamenda, for instance, I continued the series with the female butcher and the female palm nut harvester. So I continued the series with female, but at a certain point, I had to produce too on other themes, not only women this time. So I did documentary on child labor.
Margaret Fube Lem, épouse FOMBE. I like to call her that way because when we first met in the late 70s, 79, 80, in the University of Yaoundé, she was called Margaret Lem Fube. So she became Margaret FOMBE through marriage. She is that one person who has been a friend for a very, very long time. Our friendship goes back about 4 decades. That was when I met Margaret in the university, and little did I know that our paths were still going to cross much later because we embraced the same profession. In 87, Margaret graduated a year before me. On a purely friendly note, Margaret has been that one person I think I came to understand and appreciate. Much of the time she internalizes her feeling. You hardly know if Margaret is happy. You hardly know if she's sad. You hardly know if she's worried, if she's frightened. So she's that one person who has a cool temperament, very cool.
It's always difficult to see her upset. She is always jovial. She brings peace when we are tired. She'll bring small stories, nice stories that she will tell us, and we'll feel relief, and the tiredness will go off and start work. What I noticed with her that she does not easily get annoyed.
She hates to be confrontational. She would prefer to swallow her anger, swallow her bitterness, swallow her frustration, rather than go frontal with people.
You have someone who is passionate to do something, and she puts in everything of hers.
Une femme qui est droite et elle ne veut pas généralement aller, n'est-ce pas, à la marge de l'éthique.
She's a mother, most especially. She's a mother. You wouldn't be with her and look at something else because she always wants you to follow her example.
I was trained in the same institution as the technicians with whom we worked. And before we left the television training center, we already worked together on our end of course production. So when we got to Sierra TV, we were working, I was observing, I was seeing how each technician was faring in his or her domain. I knew who could do what and at what time and in which kind of situation. So when the time came for me to do outdoor production, it was not a difficulty for me to select my crew members.
We started collaborating just because we could feel each other's knack for documentaries. She's such a lady that who had worked with so many people, but she decided to form her own team with whom she could at least produce the programs that she had in mind.
I knew Margaret FOMBE as a classmate. We met in high school and we parted company and met again in Bala too. I met her editing something about the former Prime Minister Achide Achu, and we talked about a great-grandmother in my area who happened to be my own great-grandmother, and it all generated a lot of anxiety in both of us, and we decided to submit a request to the then Director General of CRTV, Amadou Vamoke, and he himself was moved by the story which was told in the project which we had, and he asked us to go and bring the pictures. We did a very good report on it, which won a prize for CRTV, and the Director General gave us congratulatory letters, the entire team, because it was an exceptional beacon of time.
When she has an idea, she calls up a team and then she throws the idea on the table, explains, and then seek for her own opinion. If you have an opinion, you give before even going for shooting.
Margaret takes all her time, sometimes in a very annoying way. When you expect her to hurry on something, she takes all the time in the world. And I think because she is by nature a very thorough person, she wants to do something to the best of her ability. She wants to give in her all in the work she wants to do.
She will not start effective work until she makes sure everyone knows their place.
La chance qu'on a eue avec elle, nous avons fait la même école. Sorti, nous avons fait de la promotion Saahbeh, c'est-à-dire les Allemands qu'ils ont formés. Donc on se comprenait facilement.
I did not find any difficulty giving her what she needed, but she is always asking for more as a creative artist. She will always yearn for more shots.
When you work with Madame FOMBE, you have to be ready to work for more than 8 hours a day. See, 20 hours even.
As long as the weather permits, and as long as the energies are there, you keep working until nightfall. She forgets that there is a timepiece. That's a watch to tell you time is up.
Elle était très rigoureuse. Quand elle dit 7 heures, c'est 7 heures. Tout le monde doit être debout à 7 heures.
She's very methodic and meticulous. She would be smiling, but don't be deceived by her smile. If you don't follow what she expects, you just know you would go back and do the task.
Vous voyez, quand vous travaillez avec quelqu'un que vous savez que cette personne a des qualités et que pratiquement tu te dis que je dois apprendre tout de lui. Et qu'en retour, après une production, dans ce dérochage, elle trouve une valeur de plan qui lui avait échappé dès la conception et qui doit être utile dans son documentaire. Elle revient vers toi te féliciter. C'est-à-dire, en ce moment, toi-même, tu sens que oui, j'apporte quelque chose à ce producteur.
First, she's hardworking. Second, she is imaginative. Third, she collaborates well. For those of us who work with the news department, we like people who respect time, and I think she does. And so when we were working together, some of these qualities came out of her. And
the first day I had to work with Margaret FOMBE on Beacons of Time, they gave me literally a storyboard with images and a pre-edit, which I had to follow. I had to watch, know where the interviews were, and then know where the natural sounds were, and write commentary solely for the pieces or for the clips that needed commentary. And that is what I was taught in journalism school. But in practice, very few people do it. So sometimes we tend to forget the way things have to be done. So working with this team on Beacons of Time actually reassured me that yes, if people want it, they can follow the rules and produce following state-of-the-art norms.
Because of that exploit which we had with that old woman, we did something for Professor Anomangu when he was alive on Vanivax, and then we paid him tribute or homage when he died. And so I've had 3 key productions with Margaret FOMBE, and I must say they've been epic productions. She's quite a good producer and somebody who can conceive.
I remember when I worked in Bamenda, I used to gather my footage in Bamenda and come down to Yaoundé and edit and leave for broadcast before going back to edit again. So when I come to Yaoundé, I have just that short period. And you know, there's always a lot of congestion around our editing tables, our editing machines. Echu Henry will sacrifice and work with me even in the night. When there's space in the day, we work.
I quite remember there was a day we traveled to Bamenda and we had to work the whole day to travel to Boya for shooting. Along the way, she was very tired, very, very tired. And we almost had an accident because the driver was also tired. And she had a shock. Behold, it's only the Almighty who helped us survive that incident. All of us actually had to pray. She was in a coma for some time. We prayed, and when she regained consciousness, we had to sit, we prayed. She said, no, let's go, it's okay. We said, no. We had to stay a bit for 30 minutes for the driver also to have courage to continue the journey. And we traveled to Boya safely that day. It was the Almighty who saved our lives.
I remember one incident that actually marked me while I worked with Echu. There was a night, we worked in the night, and at about midnight, I took ill. I had serious malaria. Then Echu indicated one of our studios that was not yet equipped. I went there, I was just lying there. He got his leather jacket, covered me, and went back and continued to do that program because he is always working hard for me to finish and go back to Bamenda because staying in Yaoundé, hanging around is expensive. It's expensive. So he always worked that hard so that I will finish editing that program and go back to Bamenda where I worked. When I was transferred to Bamenda, that was around 1992, 93. At that time, there was this post-presidential election crisis. People were on strike, they were locking down, they were burning tires, they were blocking the roads, they were cutting down trees across the road so that vehicles would not pass. But the programs I mentioned, the female palm nut harvester and the female butcher, I was shooting these programs at the same time because they were in the same location. They were in Bafut. I was in Bamenda. So the crisis, the post-presidential election crisis, had gotten to a point where the population didn't want to see CRTV camera. The camera could not be in my home because it could be broken at any time. My husband will drive me in his car. Then I go along with a loincloth. When we get to the station, I take the camera, I wrap it in the loincloth, I sit in the car and put it under my legs. Then my cameraman will sit in front, holding nothing. Then the sound technician will sit with me behind. When we could not go as a crowd, we just move as a family. My son will have to teach him how to hold the microphone, the fishing rod, and then take the sound. My husband will be assisting me, and I will actually film I will be on the camera. So we'll just move as if we are a family. We'll go to the field, and I take it out, put my tripod, and I do the filming.
So we had a lot of problem putting this program together. At a certain moment, she almost was like giving off. I told her, I said, no, let's continue. You spend a lot of time shooting this program, so we should not allow the devil destroy the program. And we did it. Behold, it went to Vue d'Afrique and won a prize. And we're very, very happy. And she was even a guest on Tam Tam Weekend to present the award.
This one must have stayed in the bar for some time and settled.
Her frail body might give one the impression that Mama Akan can no longer cook for herself.
Here in Bokwango on the 2nd of August 1928.
Simon Achidacho himself is not like an executive who runs his farms from the safety of the office. He rises up with the others and retires with them.
At the time, CRTV's main problem was to have good documentaries of reference. We needed that kind of documentary that was competitive, that we could use as an exchange instrument with programs exchange abroad. So we looked around, and when Margaret came up with this idea of going back memory lane, doing a kind of historic documentary, it quickly fit into what management at the time thought could be a reference documentary.
Writing commentary for Beacons of Time, I learned. I saw how much they had invested time to get the proper resource persons, to do the proper research, and to give you a complete story. Each time you finished Beacons of Time, you had the feeling that you had walked back into history and you had actually learned.
Whenever I got a prize, it was an honor that was brought to Cameroon, especially at the international level. That was an honor to Cameroon and to CRTV in particular. So the first documentaries that I sent to Utna festivals, I sent 2 programs really. One, the female palm nut harvester, and the female butcher. So I sent them to different sections, and in the different sections they won a prize. That was the first prize that any program from Cameroon or CRTV ever won. I participated in a film festival in Vue d'Afrique in Montreal, Canada, with the female filling station technicians, and he won a prize. In 1996, I took part again in the Vue d'Afrique festival in Canada. So the female palm nut harvester, he still won a prize. To crown it all, I presented Segos Kibos on child labor. I presented in FESPACO, and it had a prize. CRTV introduced what they call Provinciade. It was a competition with the TV documentaries for the regions. The very first edition, I won the first prize, which was with the Fichuk, the wine of life, on palm wine produced in Batibu. We got married some 35 years ago at the civil status, but our white marriage took place 2 years later when I was in the TV training center, and I had the honor for my classmates to be present at our wedding, and it was quite an interesting ceremony. We have one biological child, but many children we have brought up, and many that we are still bringing up.
She's very caring. She's a good mom. I really love her so much. I really do. She's my mom. She's actually my mother. She has taken care of me for a very long time.
My husband is the one who has impacted my life the greatest, because being a journalist, he understood the nature of my job and my difficulties and helped in many areas, especially when I did my shooting and editing. He was my first critic.
I am the one who encouraged her to go into TV production. I encouraged her to do that when it started, and there she is. I think she's interested in it, and it's okay with us.
He's not only a wonderful husband, but he has impacted my spiritual life. First of all, I'm a Christian in the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, and I don't just go to church regularly, but I belong to the Christian Women Fellowship, CWF. I'm also a partner of the Ark of God Covenant Ministry, where we as partners will help to spread the gospel through television. You will imagine that a 35-year career will be full of many people who have created an important impact at different levels of my life. But I want to mention one here. Mrs. Natalie Batten is a Canadian filmmaker. In 1990, when I registered for the Vue d'Afrique Film Festival, she was one of the organizers of the festival. And it came to a point that the organizers decided to do training for the 3 African ladies whose programs were selected at the festival. That is, they would take part in the festival, and thereafter they would do a 3-month training in film production and distribution in the norms, in Canadian norms. Since then, this woman got interested in my career. And at each level, when there is any opportunity for me to do training, she will inform me and urge me to get my papers ready and travel. That is how I did training in Bordeaux, France. And I attended many festivals like FESPACO because of this lady's assistance.
I think she is an amazing resource person for all the media outlets that are being developed today in Cameroon. And if anybody wants a reference insofar as documentary production is concerned, I think she's the person to go to.
I wish her well and hope that she would pick up something that will preoccupy her, and that the experience she has acquired at CRTV would not be put on the shelf somewhere to waste.
As she retires from CRTV, I wish she could open a consulting firm for herself.
Le souhait est que vraiment nos jeunes réalisateurs copient l'exemple de Madame FOMBE. Elle est une référence pour la télévision camerounaise.
Well, so far I've really been into production, that I've put all my attention into production. But I won't mind imparting knowledge to younger colleagues. If they are willing and they show the desire for it, why will I not? I would even like to work in production teams with them. So that if I am solicited, I will work with them so that I can pass on some of the experience that I've had. And the experience I really have, it is not only from the classroom or from training, it is field work, a lot of field work. So if I work alongside them, I will be able to explain certain things that you don't get from the classroom. Certain situations that you face and you look for solutions.
Quand on va jusqu'à la fin, il faut dire gloire à Dieu. Et je sais qu'elle a un projet, ça devait être le projet qui couronnait notre carrière, nous tous de l'équipe, et qu'on n'a pas pu faire. Mon souhait, c'est que, même dans sa retraite, que ce projet puisse être concrétisé.
So I wish Maggie very well. Let her take just a little rest and, believe you me, get back on board. Get back to produce good documentaries that can, like I say, act as a good advocacy document, not only for Cameroon, but for all those who would need her service.